What is up, everyone? This is the live show episode where we release the main portion of the live show when we were in LA into the world. We just want to thank everyone again for coming out and for making it such an incredible time. Especially a big shout out to our spouses, now officially all of our spouses, and supporters who made this trip possible and really this whole show possible. We're so excited to offer this to you. This does not include the Q&A section, and it does not include the video. Our plan is to release that in our premium package. We're still working on getting that all sorted, but our plan is to launch a new membership style, a new community thing later in the fall, hopefully, assuming that we have the time and life doesn't take too much of that away from us. We were going to launch that earlier, and then, Patrick went and got married, and Nathan had jobs to do, and I got new jobs, and, it's just been a whole lot of life that happened. So we didn't forget. Our plan is still to release those, but this is the live show in LA. Also, the audio isn't perfect because live show, and we're still trying to figure that out. But hope that you enjoy it, and we will see you next time, I guess is how I say this. Anyways, let's roll the clip. I like water.
What was it?
물 좋아요.
물 좋아요?
물. M-U-L is water.
물.
And then 좋아요 is like, I like it.
물.
It's also how you would profess your affection
like J,
to someone.
Like J-E-L?
C-H. 좋아요.
Oh, C-H. 좋아요?
Yeah.
물
Like,
좋아요.
if you were in high school and you said to a girl, 좋아요, they'd be like, ooh, or they'd be like, get away from me, you creepy.
Okay, I'm
Really?
dropping that in. I'm gonna start saying that in K-Town to just everyone. 좋아요. 좋아요. Just to every single person.
No, I
want to
see you do it to Jerry. Just say it to Jerry.
100%. As soon as I get off the
just
plane,
come up to him and go, "좋아요."
I'm gonna go 좋아요. And I'm gonna wink at him, and then he's gonna, and then I'm not gonna be at the show because I'm dead.
Or he's gonna give you a big hug. I don't know.
I don't know if he'll hug me. 좋아요.
좋아요.
물
Alright.
좋아요.
Yeah.
That was so terrible.
You're listening to The Janchi Show, hosted by three Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
We're running questions later. So, without further ado, it's all yours, guys.
Cue music. You get it.
I thought you guys were actually gonna do that.
I mean, in a perfect world, it would have happened. This is not a perfect world, so it didn't happen.
Abbreviated
So-
version.
Someone bring it up on a phone.
Are we doing our masks off so that we can have like clean audio? Okay, great.
Jerry was very serious about mask on.
I didn't know.
For the audience.
Jerry talked about
ways
having
away.
masks on and then masks off so that we could separate the people, but I don't know.
So right now you're getting a look at what it's like. when
This is
we
all the stuff that
record.
we cut out.
We just
So-
sit here and talk about just
What we just-
nonsense.
It's like when we have a guest on and we're like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and hit record. How do you say your name? And then, because German last names are so confusing. So,
Yeah. Well, it was at the start of the show.
I mean, basically,
I mean, is it a show or is it a conversation?
it's all of it.
I like it.
So, really quickly, who here has never heard a single second of the Janchi Show? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, former guests.
Yeah, so really quickly, thank you, former guest. So good.
To be fair, there was a few episodes that Patrick hadn't even listened to, so.
Why would you say that?
Because it's honest. That's what we do
And
here on the show.
I'm pretty sure we recorded you saying it, so.
That's fine.
Great. Patrick, what does Janchi mean?
Yeah.
And why do we call ourselves the Janchi Show? Wait, also, I need to move because I'm not like.
I think it's.
Here's the other
debatable.
thing. When we do the show, it's like fully on Zoom, right? So I'm really just used to seeing them in small squares.
I know,
And
it's
so
kinda
seeing
weird.
like all of them is real.
Well, and we're like
Really?
face to face.
So like I feel like
of us.
I gotta like
Okay, I don't know how to take that comment. You see all of
it's
us
you
now.
in all your glory.
I mean, we are staying in the same hotel room,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
seeing all of each other.
Yes.
Not a joke.
Nah.
There is a weird door that
That's
opens
fine.
to the bathroom, but that's
Anyways,
all that's right.
what does
Yeah.
Janchi mean, and why do we call
So-
ourselves the Janchi Show?
Janchi means to feast or to come together in celebration, usually for like an annual thing or as a weekly thing. It's families and friends coming together. And we chose that because we like to think of our show as a celebration of our identities, our shared heritages, and our unique individual lived experiences.
Kind of took
we-
it from Dol Janchi.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because when we were starting to do the show, we went back and forth on names for quite a while. And do you remember what the other name was? that we were
Uri.
gonna-
Yeah, it was like
Uri.
Uri Story or Uri
Yeah.
Show.
But now there is actually.
now that
Yeah.
actually exists.
Right.
So
So
glad we
we
didn't.
didn't do that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every week we get together and we do a Janchi. And it's really fun because it really does feel like a celebration a lot of times. I think for me, one of the best things about doing the show is being able to share people's stories and to hear literally walking away every single time just mind blown at how incredible everybody's story is. So I think each week it's really a big privilege to be able to sit down and to do that.
yeah, absolutely. I think there are some parts of the story that are similar in that a lot of them start with "I was adopted from South Korea," and then after that they're super different. And it is astounding to me how different every single story is. And the guests that we've had on have been really, really incredible. And yeah, it was fun because, I mean, Janchi it's a feast or to celebrate. So the conceit of the show, for those of you who haven't heard it, and this is not a regular Janchi show, obviously, we have someone on, we talk about their adoption story, talk about like just living intersectionally, and then at the end we try a Korean food or drink item, which for the very first time we all get to do later, which is going to be bonkers wild. I'm so excited. But yeah, and then we rate it. So yeah, it's everything from like shrimp crackers and soju to
Kimchi.
oh yeah, kimchi.
Yeah, lots of snacks.
Lots of
Exclusively snacks.
choco pies, which
Yep.
you know, real popular in Korea. We'd never
Shrimp-
had them before. though.
Peanut butter squid balls.
Oh yeah,
Not great.
not my favorite.
So
Yeah, that one was interesting.
Milky
Yeah.
soup.
milky soup. Yeah. Yeah.
Milky
Milkies.
Lots
I
of
like
yeah.
that
So
stuff. I'd
it's,
buy
it's
that stuff now because it was so good from
Okay.
that show. Yeah.
all right. So yeah. So that is it. I don't know what we're talking about.
So we passed 53 episodes.
Right. Thank you. This is
Essentially, we are here for our own Doljanchi because this is like our 1 year.
Oh, what does
anniversary.
Doljanchi mean? Because I definitely didn't know before we started the show.
I thought it was first birthday celebration.
But like what? Like yeah. Like what
So
is it?
Doljanchi.
Yeah.
So I have 3 kids, and I've done it for all 3
Okay.
kids.
Flex.
So, and so I've done it for all 3 of my kids. We dress them up. We all wear hanboks, and we do food. We have like a table of desserts, and usually one of the main parts of it is the doljabi, which is the part where the baby either walks or crawls, depending on how well they are able to do that. And they go across to items that are separated at the end of the mat that are supposed to symbolize what they do as their future outlook. So there could be money or a ball if they want to do sports, or
A gavel for law.
gavel for law,
Or
yeah,
a
book,
stethoscope for doctors.
the same
string
page
for
always.
long life, yeah. And so they put that in the
Money.
crawl.
They're just like, you're just gonna be rich
Yeah,
somehow.
right. Financially wealthy. I don't know. So they just go and they grab whatever the first thing, and so I did that for all 3 kids, and it's been fun. They each pick something different, so we'll have a diverse household, I think. But so that's where we took the Doljanchi kind of from, is first birthday, and this is our first birthday because we've had 53 episodes. We've been very fortunate to have gone this long and to have so many great viewers and listeners, and made so many good connections with everybody.
Well, I think another thing too that really resonates with the Doljanchi is that the whole point of the show is for us to like strive forward, to move towards something, to find our identities, and to build those out. So I really think like the Doljabi part of that is something that we do every day on the show, is just seeking out our thing, our future,
Okay.
to
See it.
make us whole. I don't know.
That's deep.
Yeah, I know.
I was concerned that it almost wouldn't work,
Nope, I was working
but it's actually because
to
I
get it
stopped
to
paying
work out.
attention for a second.
Are you serious?
Yes, I was like, wait a minute, what? Okay, no,
can't
that
edit
works.
this out.
I mean,
Oh wait,
I can when we release it, but you get the uncut version. This is the director's
true.
cut.
This is why it's live.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's been a standout moment from the past, I guess, year of our show for y'all? This
You
is also
would
the
have thought
part
we would have
that
thought of
can't
the
cut
answers to
out.
these questions,
So-
but I haven't.
I would say doing the video for Con was definitely a big standout moment. I realized that virtually is a little bit different, but I did feel like that was a huge step for us.
What is Con?
Especially being so new to the scene. So
What is Con?
what?
What is Con?
Oh, Con is the Korean American Adoptee and Adoptive Family Network. They've been an organization for quite a long time, but they host an annual conference, usually in person over a weekend. But this past year, because of the pandemic, they held it virtually for a week. And that was a really great experience. We had Glenn Morey come on the show, CAD and director of a documentary series called Side by Side. And he talked about how it was transformational. And that was another standout conversation, another standout moment, because the very next day after we interviewed him, I saw an Instagram ad from Con about, hey, do you want to come to the conference and present? And I was like, should we do this? Because we had just talked to him. And we did. So I think that was a big moment for sure.
And so essentially for that, we were the intro video to the thing. We didn't have actually speaking seminar, workshop or anything. It was the intro to welcome all the guests and viewers and everything to the conference for the week.
That's when we ate volcanic chicken ramyun.
Yeah, and
That
we
was
ate
rough.
some hot
I was not
ramen.
prepared for that.
Bulldog. Yes.
I messed up the broth situation, so they were like, it's fine. And I was like, it's so much broth that it's all spicy. And they were like, it said pour it out. I was like, well, they missed that on the package. And
The director too that we had eat it with us said she didn't really like spicy foods either, so it was interesting. So she had her son on it, and he ate most of it. And he was, I think,
The
was
tag team did.
16,
Yeah,
16
yeah.
or so, and he was just chowing down. Like that was
Yeah.
pretty impressive. But yeah, that was a good moment. I really just over the year just meeting all the different guests. I think for me is hearing the stories like you were saying earlier that each story maybe have similar aspects but be completely different. You know, hearing about adoptees adopting, or hearing about adoptees putting their kids up for adoption. I mean, the stories, the diversity of all those, things that never would have thought of, I think, have been amazing to me. Very moving. So.
yeah, it's been a real privilege, like hearing so many stories that add so much nuance and complexity to an already really difficult topic that just gets shoehorned into one particular viewpoint or one particular story or narrative. And so even things that, as I think that I'm progressing and having a more flexible worldview, I'll hear a new story and be like, oh, well, now I got to go back and rethink some things, because this is, it really did change a lot of things for me. I think one of my standout moments, and this is a little awkward, but one of my standout moments was having Dan Matthews on the show. So Dan, if you just if you want to plug your ears for like 5 minutes, that's fine. Or alternatively, if you need to like stand on the chair and just like bow continuously, that's fine too. So, and the reason that was special was I think Dan, for myself and for Nathan especially, and I think somewhat for you, Patrick. I don't actually remember that one, but
We can talk about it later.
yeah, sure, okay, great. Represented like a particular moment of coming out of the fog. So coming out of the fog is the language that we use for like that moment when you wake up and realize that you're adopted and or not white, especially if you're raised by white parents. And so for me, that happened in 2015. I saw his documentary about going back to Korea and finding his birth family, and just lost it. I was like, that was the moment that I was aware of Asian Pacific Islander, APAHM, whatever, that whole thing, our Heritage Month. That was the moment that my girlfriend, now wife, pointed out to me that I regularly used they when referring to Asian Americans. And then I saw this documentary, and that was the first time that I had seen myself reflected in anything, right? And also I think the first time that I thought to look for it. Which is another thing. And so that was really powerful. And so to have him come on the show was interesting because, like, in my mind, this is kind of the unfortunate power of media, right? And like well-produced stuff, is Dan felt like a really big, really unattainable guest. And Dan, you were really great, and just being like, yeah, let's hang out. It's totally fine. Like, of course, I'd love to do your show. And the moment, like the way that we all started in the midst of like heavy quarantining, in the midst of heavy isolation, I just found that like having guests on the show, and I think you might have been the third guest that we didn't, I mean, you kind of knew him, but like we didn't like really personally know you. And so like that was a particular moment when I think I realized that I had found my people, and my people were like, yeah, we're here for you, we'll show up for you. You all are here, like you are my people, and so that was really, really powerful and really profound. To have that, and then like I think after that we had found our first stride as the show, like in our first kind of early iteration of what it means to be the Janchi Show, to do the Janchi Show, and other people were finding us, and so we had like set out from the course, like from the start of it, to be a light show, to be funny, to be something that celebrates who we are and that wrestles with nuance as well. And one of our goals was to help amplify and grow how many adoptees were speaking and how they were speaking, why they were speaking. It didn't really matter. We just were like, just more of us talking. Just that's really what we wanted to see happen. And so that was a key moment where I think that we felt like we had traction, and we're beginning to get that validation of like, oh yeah, we can do this. And that opportunity for community building, I think, really started to grow from there. So, yeah.
And we started, I think, branching out from there as well, like looking into other organizations, other groups, who to follow. You know, Patrick started a clubhouse.
It's also when Patrick started reading like 80 million books. It was like Patrick's book of the day.
Yeah.
I'm still doing that kind of.
So
Not really.
Not really?
I'm trying to. That's a lot. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
You know?
What's a particular point of like Korean culture that we've learned over the course of time that it really sticks with you?
I don't know if it's stuck with me as I remember saying it. I mean, all of the food items that we've been eating, I think, has been great to kind of discover our culture in that. And it's like, oh, this is a popular food in Korea, or this is how they cook it and stuff. And we would like to do more with that segment, actually. We've talked about maybe adding a little bit of like cooking, videos, TikToks, I don't know, something. And
I think where the young people are.
Yeah. So that I think would be fun, because I like that discovery. Is like, oh, this is a part, or this is a very common drink or a food item or something. And so that discovery, I think, has been really cool for me. But
Yeah, I think for me, exploring Korean heritage and learning about Han was really powerful and important. But when we were going through the Korean Culture Dictionary, which we've been doing on some of our solo episodes, we got to the part where we talked about that, but they also talked about jung, which I thought was really powerful because I had not heard of that term before.
Can you explain both of them really briefly?
I'm going to try and explain it.
You got it!
So jung is kind of, I don't want to say it's necessarily like the opposite of Han, which is like a deep longing and emotional intensity, likened to like loss of identity. Jung is like, man, I'm not going to do a good job explaining this.
You got it.
Jung is like the kind of the forward courteousness, I guess, like the really strong like sense of, I don't want to say like pride, but sense of like responsibility, I guess, and kind of like a positive aspect. I know they talk about it really being present in like K-dramas, which notoriously I do not watch.
Well, you watch the pilots.
I watched the first episode of a lot of them and don't watch any more episodes. But I think that's really stuck with me because it gave me this diversification of like the Korean experience. Han makes me feel connected, but it's out of like tragedy. It's out of this loss, this longing. Jung is like, it's like, being able to, I don't know, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining what Jung is. I don't think anybody understands.
Wait, show of hands who understands. All right, that's an honest crowd. Nice.
Yeah, so
For the listeners at home, no hands were raised.
no hands. I'm gonna go scoot behind this.
I just sit behind my flag. It's fine.
I don't know.
The sense that I got from the dictionary was that Jung is like that sense of like just caring for people in your community. With no other reason that they're a part of your community. And so if you're familiar with like K-drama tropes and things, it's like when somebody calls an older brother without all of the weird like relationship baggage. But it's like just that like if I called either of them Hyung, that they would know, oh, this is how we relate to each other, and I therefore have a responsibility to care for him. And then I, in turn, am like, okay, I know that he's going to take care of me, and so like I need to do my part to make sure that like he feels like he's able to do so, right? So it is like this really just like for no other reason than like you're part of our community, I'm going to take care of you. And it's just like it's a kind of an immediate way of like understanding like respect and roles and relationships and things. Obviously can be abused. Obviously can get like whatever. But yeah, I think that it really is kind of that. I think what's interesting about them is they're two binding communal forces. That Han is like Korea being the nation that it is and having even the modern history that it has of strife and grief and loss and difficulty is like we continue to get up and we continue to carry that grief and that weariness deep in our souls. And so that there is like this really beautiful pain that binds us, and also I think maybe because of that we have this Jung for each other, but it also kind of comes in with Confucianism and things like that. So
Well, see, I know if I can't explain something, I can just toss it over to you. Just crush it.
Here for you, boy.
That was beautiful. Thank you. And that's the show.
Roll it, roll the music.
What have you guys felt about what we've been doing
Wait,
here?
we're not gonna talk about your like Korean bit of culture that you.
You said the
I
food.
did. I said food culture.
What?
You didn't say anything. You just explained what I said.
Good point.
Yes.
Yes. KJ, what would you?
For me, I actually think of our episode with Minju of @FluentKorean on Instagram, who is our only non-adoptee to date, who has come on the show. But I'm about to lose my microphone. Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna just. Who is I'm just gonna hold it. It's not worth
Just
me.
hold it.
It's not worth me finagling it.
This has been ongoing all day long. These things have been falling.
Yeah. She is. So I was excited to have her on the show because I really love her Instagram account because she really digs into not just language but some of the culture behind it. And so we brought her on because she is a Korean who grew up in the Philippines and went to an international school, and so is like us, kind of a third culture kid, but really understands Korean culture. And I think early days we were like, I mean, we can talk about being adopted, but we'd love to know about Korean culture, and having another third culture kid kind of enter into that conversation and guide that conversation was really important to us. So the thing that I always equate with her is filial piety. And now, having gone through, again, the Korean Culture Dictionary and reading about the deep-rooted Confucianism and like really filial piety in a fuller sense has been really interesting and really profound to hear about and to think about, especially again as we consider what it means. Like, I think we've experienced this some even in the workings of our own show, where I'm the youngest by age, but then like maybe the more knowledgeable about maybe Korean language or whatever. And so like I think we have these kind of moving.
Telling me I'm flexing.
That's fair.
Come on, bro.
But we have these constantly shifting identities kind of based on how long we've been on our journey of understanding ourselves as adoptees, right? And so I think then the role of filial piety is just really interesting. And so I think like having that language and figuring out how we interact with our community as adoptees, like within ourselves, and then again within the broader Korean American, and then again within the broader Asian American communities has been really interesting. And so knowing that kind of roots us, and I think we all carry some of that in our souls, really. Even in the sense of like, I don't know what this is, and I know that I lack it, and can't put language around it. I think has been really interesting. So that was a thing that was interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, in the sense of like navigating those communities and working towards identity, where would you say you're at on your journey now?
So I'm
as
like
an
60% Korean. I'm just kidding.
You're working there. You got over the hump.
Yeah.
But where would you say you're at just in your personal journey? From where you are now versus where you were 1 year ago when we started all this.
Yeah. So over the course of the show, one of the things that I've thought about, one of the real gifts of having multiple hosts on the show and so many different adoptees come on the show is the gift of language and the gift of I can't express this thing that I feel, and then someone will come on or someone will be talking and then be like, oh, so what I'm hearing you say is this, and then we actually have like the right language to verbalize how we're feeling, instead of just being like, because that's So I think it's hard. Like I don't have the language to say like I'm at this point on the journey. I have like maybe some more interesting mental models, like I have found when we've talked about this. Like the term "coming out of the fog" is helpful because once you're in it, you kind of like hear it and you're like, okay, I get that. That does sound like what I've experienced, and then you realize really quickly it falls short, and it doesn't sum up all of what happens after that. So like for me, sometimes I'll say, after you come out of the fog, there's more fog, or another adoptee will say, like, coming out of the fog feels like I had all of these dominoes laid up, and then someone knocked a domino over, and then suddenly everything about my identity was toppled over, and I realized that dominoes were missing. And so I think I'm able to communicate more effectively and really excited to continue finding more language to communicate that. So, yeah, like 40% Korean.
40%.
Yeah.
40%.
Which I will say is probably accurate too. I did say 60% earlier, and then it was like, nah, now it's 40%. I've gone back a little bit.
You talk yourself down.
Yeah, I'm like, that seems too strong.
What about you, Patrick? That's a good question. So.
Yeah, I mean, when we started the show, it was at the start of my own personal journey. Like KJ mentioned, they've both been on a little bit more of this path of understanding themselves either as Asian Americans or as adoptees. And that's something I never did until last year. Like, never. And so, I've leaps and bounds ahead of where I was a year ago. But specifically, language, I think, is a perfect thing to talk about in terms of like what we've gained over this past year. But all of that, and especially being here in person, I don't know, it's just making me like I can't even assemble my thoughts correctly because all of this has been online. Like all of this has been at a virtual digital space, as real as everything has been. And so, to be here in person and to be able to like see the fruits of all of this community building that we've been doing is really, really incredible. And for me, I'm at this point where I'm like, the show has allowed me to know that I can do everything that we've been doing online in the local community that I'm in. So like right now, like I'm trying to start an adoptee group in Indianapolis and do that.
Yeah.
So, like just taking everything that we've done online and finally having the ability to go out and say, all right, let's put this to work and see what happens. So I think that's where I'm at.
I like your analogy of the domino where you.
Oh, it's not mine. I cannot take credit for that. That's what I hope is a future guest on the show. I like keep talking to her because like that. I was like, that language needs to be shared because I think it is so good. So, anyways, it's not mine.
I like that analogy because there's spaces. You topple over one, but then you find other things that you want to fill in or that's missing. And something that I thought wasn't really missing from my life was things because I had started my journey back when I had seen Dan's documentary too. I went out and reached out to find my family and my biological family and found them in 2017. So that one was really special to me. And I thought after I found my family that was it. I found biological family. I went to Korea to meet them. That was it. Now I'm there, but it wasn't. There's more that I have been doing since then with the show, where we've discovered more of the culture. Granted, I would like to learn more Korean language, so that's something on my list of dominoes. But things like that. I mean, when you figure out something, you're like, oh, now I want to do some of this, or now I want to learn a little bit more of cooking and how to do more of the cooking, or I want to go learn more about the culture and what other people are doing. Like I started hanging out with the Korean Adoptee community in Denver as well, which Glenn helped introduce me to because he's out there. So I started hanging out with some of them, and there's another podcast, Soul Conversations, and she's out there.
How dare you mention a rival podcast on our podcast?
Yeah, dude, come on.
We are not.
Other mediums are fine, but a podcast?
We are not competitors. We are all one community. Come
Yeah, but
on,
I wanna
John.
win.
Come on, we just talked about John.
Yeah, we're just talking.
But I'm also American, and I'm gonna win.
That is very American of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm like 60% American.
It's the classic 120%.
But now you're saying that you don't listen to other podcasts?
No, I listen to tons of other podcasts, but they shall not be named on air.
Oh, you can edit that out. Then, okay? But no, it's been good to do that, to kind of branch out to other things that I didn't even know were missing, and just kind of discover more of that. I don't read as much as Patrick, but I'm sure I could fill in a lot of dominoes if I could read.
I think another thing though, for me is that I'm still struggling a bit to have these same conversations in person with my parents. Mm-hmm. We, as people who listen and who follow me know, like I'm pretty boisterous about everything that we've been going through and everything that I've been going through personally, but still struggling, even with this newfound language, to really sit down and like share that openly. So also recognizing that, yeah, like you said, the journey's never over. And just being able to start has been really freeing, but always knowing that you have to work through these obstacles. I don't know. Is there anything that you've found that you've been struggling with at all that through the year that is still something maybe you want to focus more on as we continue, that the show has like uncovered for you?
A lot.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, like starting with my relationship with my parents into my relationship with Jesus and Christianity, and I think it's like that part specifically is one and the same into my relationship with greater being an American, right? I think obviously the last 18 months have seen a lot of us be like, so what does it mean to be American? And also, what else can we question while we're at it? Because we're just questioning everything, right? And what I find difficult is I love my parents and have a really good relationship with them. And I know how incredibly difficult my journey has been to update my sense of who I am, to rewrite and allow myself the honesty and the vulnerability to rewrite my identity. Took so much emotional labor and so much mental labor and so much I would say so much therapy, I guess official therapy and then self-therapy, right? But really thinking through those things, and I didn't ask for it and the world just kind of threw it on my lap, right? But my going through that and asking my parents to do the same of me, to update their identity of me, to update their identity of who they understand me to be, is asking them to go through some of the similar mental strain and emotional labor and all of those things when they, they might need to in some sense, but things are good, and I know that they could be better, but they're not harmful. They're not, where we are as a family is really, really pretty good. We just moved back to Dallas to be close to family, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of that excitement and glow of being together and oh, isn't this amazing? We can literally just have dinner together. So it's it is hard for me and feels really selfish of me to ask them to go on that journey of mental struggle and emotional labor. And I know that it's probably right and good for me to do so, and might be a part of loving myself well to ask them to do so. And I think part of the greater difficulty then is what if they don't? And then you get into all of the rejection and all of the it's gonna feel like I'm just shitting on them for adopting me, and I'm super not. And like even some of the things that I have said already on the show mean that I've had to like, no mom, that's not what I'm saying, like those conversations. And so like just those little like unintentional forays of me being my true authentic self in a safe space, but publicly have, because my mom loves me and cares about me and all those things, have forced her into that. And I can tell that that's not like a place where she is at. So like, I think part of the difficulty for me, part of the continued struggle is waiting and hoping and trusting that she will come to a place of readiness so that we can have a more full, a more wholly reconciled relationship to a thing that we didn't even realize that we needed to reconcile to begin with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my cousin actually called me on Friday before as I arrived here. He's been listening to every episode of our show, and he made a couple comments where he said that our show has really made him think about things he said in the past, and he wanted to make sure that nothing he has said to me in the past was offensive or hurt me, even if he was joking about something. And it was a very sincere talk with him. It was very nice, but. Yeah, I think that's kind of similar to what you're saying with your parents too, when having, having a conversation where they might say something and you're like, oh no, I wasn't saying this about you. I was just saying it in general, and I've thought that too, where I was like, I gotta watch what I say. I don't want to offend my parents. Which spoiler alert, in a couple weeks there's going to be another sibling on the show. Airing. It's my sister.
Oh yeah, I was like, wait. I was like, that's news to me.
I was like, wait, we have another interview scheduled.
We're finding out now. Yeah, no.
We interviewed my sister, so my sister's coming on, and same thing. My sister was asking me, she was like, I don't want to say anything bad about our parents and things like that. And it's not why we're trying to say anything bad. We're just trying to be open about our feelings and about that discussion. And I think a lot of adoptees have had that discussion with their parents, or discussion, and some have probably gone well and some have not. And so, but you never know until you try. And so yeah, it's been nice being closer to my parents too, because then I can have that face-to-face conversation. Which, and they did say right before we started recording this week that they really were proud of what we were doing. So that was nice.
Well, but that's a great struggle too. Is like you want to have those conversations. You never know until you try, but you're just like. Did any of y'all, maybe you were the sibling, but like maybe did y'all have the siblings who were like, can you go ask mom for something? Because like I know if you ask, they'll say yes, right? But I feel like
you know what's up.
Like I feel like we just have that like that automatically like this isn't gonna go well, and it is exhausting to be vulnerable and to like put yourself out there. And as far as my current worldview and religious belief goes, understand that it is what I'm supposed to do, is to just regularly be vulnerable and put yourself out there. So there is that kind of balance of like, this is exhausting and I should do it. I'm gonna wait a little bit until I have the capacity to, or I guess until I'm brave enough to do it, maybe. So
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, it's a huge emotional burden to put on yourself to go through this journey.
Are you saying that being alive is an emotional burden?
No, not being alive.
Are you saying that having parents is an emotional burden?
Both and?
Yeah, careful. Nathan's a dad. Talk him up. Don't put him down.
I'm going to keep it right there.
Yeah.
It's okay, my kids don't listen to the show.
They come on the show sometimes.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah.
Good fun. What do you guys thought about today? Being here in LA, being in Koreatown, doing some of the stuff that we've been doing, exploring, like I don't know. There's a little Koreatown in Dallas, correct?
Yeah, there's like little pockets of Korea.
Okay, little pockets. Like,
Yeah.
We don't even have
It's a
pockets.
it's
You don't
a
have
Korean
pockets.
pocket.
Yeah,
You
pockets.
have like maybe not even a sprinkle or
One blip.
one
Here
blip.
or there.
It's like one store.
One large grain
Yeah.
Okay.
that hasn't been ground
So
up yet.
being here, I mean, seeing all the businesses, the shops, the people, how does that feel?
Well, that's what Jerry said when we were, I don't know where we ended up at, but he was like, is this the most Korean people that you've seen in a single day in person? And I was like, it is. It actually is.
Congratulations, you did it,
Yes.
Yeah,
everyone.
but it's like, I mean, it's great. Today has been great. I think really when we went and put the hanboks on and we just took photos, honestly, I don't know. It was I've been really, maybe it's because of last night, but I've been having trouble today really like processing, really like fully processing.
I wonder why that is.
This what's been going on today, but being over there and wearing those clothes, I don't know, it was really powerful to just step into being Korean, like, and then physically embody
Literally
that.
put the clothes
Yeah,
on.
literally doing
I'm Korean.
that. But like, but yeah, just like I found a Korean woman who cuts hair in Indianapolis, and I went and got my hair cut by her a couple weeks ago, and while I was sitting there, we were sitting in like total silence because she's really just, what do you want? And now I'm gonna cut your hair. And we're sitting there, and it's just complete silence, and all I could think about was this was the first time I ever had a Korean person like Han of like the longing of everything that I would have missed from my first family, and just thinking about that. But then I say that to just say, like, stepping into the clothes, it's like it just brings me to this point of how different everything could be, you know. And so today last night was wild, and today has been a balancing act of all of that. But
What's this stuff called soju? What is this?
It's meant a lot. It's meant a lot today. Today has been amazing, and to see all of you here, and to know that we're gonna go have dinner and have another fun night is amazing.
His first Korean barbecue, by the way.
Is that right? You're my fact checker. I apparently don't remember when I do these
Rebecca
things.
just shakes her head vigorously. No, that is incorrect.
So first episode we had kimchi. He had said he'd never had kimchi.
Well, I didn't think I had.
Rebecca brought a photo of him eating kimchi.
Oh yeah, because on her episode she
This
called
week.
me out when we interviewed.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh my god.
Yeah.
not great.
That
Not
is
great look for me.
Yep.
And now I've
It's okay.
apparently had
Retention
KBBQ before,
of
so.
your experiences might not be there then. Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. Well, this may be his first, maybe his second. We don't know.
I
But
call it first asterisk.
yeah.
We're gonna throw the asterisk.
First with the asterisk.
Yeah.
But did you cook it? How about that?
No.
Okay, let's all make him cook then. He can sit at this table.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know, what's today meant for you? What's it been like to be doing all the stuff that we've done?
I really enjoyed it. You know, for this trip for me, being that I lived here for 20 years, I came to K-Town a lot. Actually, even some of the places that we've been to, I've already been in that area over there, and I was like, this is a really cool experience to be back there with you guys.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fact that I have driven through Koreatown or had Korean barbecue probably too many times. Says my gallbladder. But yeah, I just watching you guys. I know I'm kind of the eldest of the three here, and I know we're not ageist on the show, but to experience
We are not ageist on the show.
We are.
to experience like watching you guys experience it and kind of just dive in and wear a hanbok, which I know you did as a baby, I guess.
Done it now 3 times in my life.
And 3 times, okay. But yeah, when you were sitting there today wearing it, you just were like, I just feel so different. Like it was just like it was a cool kind of thing to watch. And same thing, you really enjoyed it, except you said you wanted to play video games in it, which
So I could see myself playing video games.
Yeah,
It was comfortable.
That's what he
It was
manifests
comfy.
for himself.
I know,
was
right?
me, Hamburg, video games. This is my truth. This is all that I want. in
Yeah, I
life.
can see it. My feet are up. I'm just chilling, playing a game.
But I mean, it was really
Soju.
cool. So all 3 of us wore it, and then on top of that, we went and walked through H Mart, which was hilarious. So we're all just walking in there in formal attire, and we're like walking down the snack aisle, and and Katie took a great photo of us. I swear it looks like the cover of a CD. I don't know,
It
the
is.
Janchi Boys eat snacks or something, Korean snacks. It was really fun just to do that and be here and experience, and just being here in person. Although the 30-second hug was a little awkward, but thank you for that.
That was about 35 seconds. It was great.
He threatened me that he was going to hug me for 30 seconds.
Is it a threat?
It
It was a promise.
promise, sorry.
Oh.
And I fulfilled.
Promise
Promise
kept.
fulfilled.
Promise kept. There was a few pats at the end, and I was like, okay, good. So,
Yeah, I think the Hamburg store was really neat, but like, just kind of all of it. Like Koreatown in LA specifically, obviously like represents a lot of Korean American history. And that is history that I was not aware of until really recently. And we continue to make history. We continue to be a part of history. We continue to write history. And so putting on a hanbok made me feel the roots and the history of Korea. And like, I think when I was a young boy, I was like, Korea, what a cool nation. It's a far off land that is magical, because it was just so different, right? And like, I was reading books and I was like exposed to like some of those things. And so like I, from a young age, was always aware that I was ethnically Korean. But it wasn't really until certainly this podcast that I understood Korean history, how that affects Korean American history, how that affects our history as adoptees, especially as Korean adoptees, and like in all those things. And so like it's been a real thing. Like I've had a number of different identity journeys to go on, as a Korean, as disabled, as an adoptee, as an Asian American, and so yeah, I think it's been like being in a place like this just gives me that sense of history, which I think is really profound and wonderful, and reminds me that like it's not just my life, like my blood runs deep, if that makes any sense, or whatever. The memory goes back a long ways. And so again, whether you call it Han or Jung or filial piety, or if it's reincarnation or DNA memory, like however you think about it, right? That I think that there is both a backwards thinking and a forward thinking weight that I'm excited to help bear for our people in all of what that means, saying that now.
I could just listen to you talk on the podcast, not even us. Just listen to you.
Actually, I totally thought he was going to break into song for a second there.
There is a
which he
piano.
does.
There is a piano, right?
I'm probably not gonna.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm very bad at piano.
We'll sing later.
I think it's question time.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to throw it to the audience.
Yeah.